welcome back, everybody. So this may seem like a kind of a radical idea for many of us, but there is a piece in Bustle about how having an affair can be considered self-care for many women. So it can be a way to feel seen or gain a sense of autonomy, for instance. So, Nicole, we'll throw this to you first.
Why do I get
I believe you're happily married here, but let's throw... I mean, if you were feeling kind of neglected and unseen in your partnership or marriage, would you step out as a radical act
Honestly,
of self-care?
I didn't think dishonesty was a form of self-care. Like, I prefer champs or like, you know, take my kids for 2 hours, get a massage. Like, that's self-care for me. But in terms of like marriage and the difficulty, the challenges and the obstacles within marriage, especially when you get married at a young age and you evolve and so forth, like, it's about communication, it's about conversation. And if you guys can't work it out, then, you know, unfortunately, sometimes you have to part ways and you can run these streets after that. But until then, I really think it's really important that we have these conversations. For me, that's not liberating. But for everyone, it's different because I know that there's sometimes more complexity and nuances around cheating, so I don't want to kind of remove that factor. But at the same time, like when you're doing something that feels wrong but right, you need to take a kind of step back and do some introspection as to why am I unhappy? What are the voids that I'm trying to fill? What's the work that I need to do? The conversations I need to have to just be a better human, you know?
Yeah. Cynthia, this is your world.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, I've long been beating the drum that we should not paint all affairs with the same brush, that there can be nuance, there can be complications, you don't know people's backstories or reasons. I think it's an interesting choice of language to label as self-care, because I think of self-care as things that have no downside, that there literally isn't really a downside. And I think that affairs come with a lot of baggage, even if they're done in the spirit of like I think, as we were talking off the first topic of Diana, I think that we can all remember when her affair with Dodi Fayed came out. I believe that the affair kind of crossed over. And I think we were all like, yes, go girl, like just go, because it was the signal of the end of her marriage that had clearly been fraught. And we did see her as this empowering figure of just like taking back her life that had been taken away from her. But I think as a general rule to say that, like, I think I would prefer a world where we can talk more openly about the complications of marriage, of monogamy, as opposed to saying to people, you know, like go out, this on top of your spa day or your massage or whatever, just go out and screw somebody. Like, I don't know if I think that's a little, we need more depth to that.
My definition of self-care is like peace of mind. So if I have self-care in a massage, I just want peace of mind that day. If I have self-care as therapy, in the end, it's peace of mind. If you want to go out and have an affair, that sounds like a lot of work, and that sounds hella messy. And that, at the end of the day, isn't that circumventing your whole reason for self-care? You're going to be a lot more tired for many reasons, and it's going to be very messy, and now it's not self-care. You are self-destructing. And so I think there's other paths.
Yeah, listen. In a perfect world, yes. More communication, honesty. I think that there are sometimes people who find themselves in a terribly complicated situation and in a very painful marriage. I know somebody who was in that situation. And
a bad marriage?
A painful marriage, a complicated, painful marriage with layers and layers of complexity that you can't even imagine unless you're there. And when you are walking through that situation with somebody, self-care then becomes redefined sometimes in specific cases as escape. When you can't find an easy solution, the solution, because those issues are so complex, you can't just go to therapy for a few days and it'll figure itself out. That escape is what you need to feel alive and to get your bearings. It can be a form of self-care. I have seen it. In fact, I encouraged it. There is someone I love very much who was in a very complex, very painful, very harmful marriage, and she had an opportunity to engage in an affair, and rather than say to her, you need honesty, this is not what she needed. She just needed someone to say, okay.
Was it
and I helped her, and I facilitated I was somebody who facilitated, and I don't regret it.
No. I'm curious though. Like, was it the catalyst that she needed to push herself out of the marriage?
Yes.
Okay, so that is interesting. Like, that to me is like, that is different then. I mean, I guess it's just a semantic thing.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about, is sometimes an affair the exact thing that needs to happen in order for someone to realize, okay, this is not the marriage for me?
Can I talk from the other person's point of view? Let's say Ryan thought our marriage was awful, and he decided, you know what would be great for my self-care and my self-esteem if I sleep with someone else.
Sure, fair enough.
Has he told me he's unhappy? Has he done everything he can do to try to repair our marriage? Or is he just stepping out in what I would, I mean, that sounds like a very complex situation.
Yes, very.
But if it was literally like, I'm not feeling like my wife loves me and sees me and says I look hot anymore, which, he still looks hot and I still tell him I'm fine. But if he was feeling unseen and self-esteem was low, what's his first move? Is it to talk to me?
Of course.
Or is it to step out? So I would say from the other person's perspective, take them into account if they're not an awful human being.
I'm saying, listen, these are extenuating circumstances.
Definitely.
But when we talk about self, it is the self. Every self has a different set of circumstances that they're dealing with. And it may be that there is a self out there who does need that in that moment as a form of self-care.
Okay.
But it's very temporary.
Yeah.
It's very temporary.
Hey there, wasn't that great? Do you know where you can find some equally good content? Our YouTube page. It's filled with discussions, debates, and some laughs. Head there now, like and subscribe.